Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here, basically, are discussing one of the topic that is city creation. In city creation, basically, we are discussing one of the topic that is India account. India account, basically, SBI account, Amazon account, and after 2 days, basically, in India, basically, big earthquake is going to come. That topic actually we are discussing. In this, basically, we have discussed lots of things. Lots of things, basically, we have discussed. Lots of things, basically, we have discussed. We have discussed that how basically one person basically eats one thali, and how basically the businessmen basically that are the governments supported by governments basically they breaks the hand, they breaks the head, they breaks the leg. I don't know what they don't break basically. So this has converted into business basically. So nowadays businessmen basically have become mafia group basically, because if you are breaking anybody's head, anybody's leg, that means you are mafia group basically. They only basically do this type of activity basically. That means you are doing the task of mafia group also basically. So that is basically different thing, because that is everything basically is going to calculate one day. Because daily 1 crore hand, leg, head, eye. Sometimes basically they breaks the eye also basically. You will not able to believe it basically. From one thali basically, eye are also basically fired. You will not able to believe it basically. There are many thalis which are available in the market basically. You will not able to believe it basically that they damages your eye also. For example, you are eating one Chinese. So from that Chinese, basically your eye get damaged. So this thing basically Chinese group basically might be knowing. They might be 100% knowing. No, basically their Chinese product are basically getting used this way. And who is using the Chinese? That are governments basically. Governments are using the Chinese item basically. Government means MLAs, MPs. They basically have the good full rights basically to damage anyone's head, anyone's eye, anyone's head, anyone's hand, anyone's leg. Just damage it. Because Hindustan हमारे बाप का है basically. Who is going to ask? Politics people basically. Who is going to ask? Political people basically. Who is going to ask? Police department. Currently war is ongoing between Russia and Ukraine. So somebody has asked basically police department in that from that war basically. So one person basically told that in India also basically the situation is like same way basically as it was in Russia and Ukraine. Just a minute. But one person told that आजकल तो पुलिस के जो काम है ना, there people basically do, who are basically into Bollywood, who are basically into their friends, who are basically software professionals, who are connected with the police department basically. They are doing their police task basically. They basically have given full access to them, and they basically are breaking his head, breaking his leg, because police department know that basically one day basically they have to give the answer basically who's who actually damaged the eye, who damaged the head, because it's going to affect to entire police department, and this will convert to war, and then basically police department basically will do the war between countries to country basically. And this literally happens basically. Entire police department gets sent basically. Sometimes basically the war basically becomes so dangerous thing basically you're not able to believe. Entire army, entire police, entire everything basically gets sent. But that basically very rare happens. Why? When basically that happens? When entire country gets finished. But do you think basically entire India basically will get finished ever? That is not possible here basically. Who is basically going to finish India basically? Is there anyone basically who can finish India? That is not possible. Why? Just a minute. One person told that the rules is basically created by Baba Sahib Ambedkar basically. So he basically have the full support of scheduled caste group basically. But they don't use their power huh, basically. But few people basically use their power basically. भाई हम तो अम्बेडकर के आदमी हैं तो इसकी आंख फोड़ दे दे, इसका हाथ फोड़ दे दे, इसका गला फोड़ दे दे, इसके लैपटॉप के अंदर घुस के इसकी जासूसी करते हैं. That means we will enter in his laptop and will do the jasusi what actually he is doing. Why? Because we have the power of Ambedkar basically. हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं basically. So scheduled caste group basically do this type of activities basically. But that basically they don't have the rights basically to enters anyone's laptop, install something basically, and do the activities basically what he is doing, and then basically connect with them to cyber cell group and tell them basically see basically he has done these all activities, give him punishment. So that basically comes into personal problem basically, and personal problem basically which converts to very big issue basically. Sometimes it affect to entire caste also. Sometimes it affect to Ambedkar also, directly Ambedkar. So one person told that currently basically what is Baba Sahib Ambedkar doing? Because history never ends, that everybody knows. And how basically is looking basically. That was asked by one of the person. So just a minute. So one person told that basically is not possible. Yeah, basically. How to tell that basically that where is Ambedkar? Baba Sahib Ambedkar. And he basically died in India. That means he is not in India. That is 100% sure. But nowadays basically rules are basically getting totally different basically, so he might also be available in India basically, but nobody can recognize him. Can anybody can recognize him? No, basically that is not possible. Why? Because he is officially died basically in front of the public basically. Once you are died basically, then basically you can't get that post basically, but you can basically, you are basically told as Ambedkar body basically, but your current body is totally different basically. But Ambedkar power basically will be always there with that body basically. But here the thing is, the schedule caste group basically might be knowing this. Few people basically might be knowing because they have to. They basically know that basically if Ambedkar's basically anything happens to Ambedkar, that is Baba Sahib Ambedkar, that is directly going to affect the entire schedule caste. So few people basically knows this basically, that due to his activities, entire Ambedkar caste, sorry, entire schedule caste basically can get effect. One person told that we are having the full power of Ambedkar, so we will use lots of things. We will install anything basically in laptop, and we will do the jasusi of laptop. That the what person basically is doing, which video is ongoing, what basically is watching in Facebook, what he is watching in LinkedIn, what basically is watching doing in Skype, what he is basically doing in WhatsApp. So everything basically they watch. Why basically they watch? Because they are basically thinking that basically this person basically can create problem to us. Why? Because we have done something bad to him, that basically he might, if he I will take one example basically. One person basically got married with one scheduled caste girl basically. He was actually having HIV AIDS, and first basically assumed that basically that a scheduled caste girl basically was having AIDS. So he basically, the entire group basically, entire schedule caste group basically. So they planned. They basically thought that basically this person basically is creating lots of problem to us basically. So they planned something basically. That is basically because they have the power of Ambedkar, so they can do anything. Why? Because rules उनके बाप का है. Rule schedule caste के बाप का है. So they basically done one plan basically. What do you know? What was the plan? And this is real story, yeah, basically. This is real story of the one of the city that is in Bangalore basically. If you have to do the mark the register, you can mark it basically. That uh, so the story is like this. That person basically got married with that HIV/AIDS girl, and girl basically was having AIDS. This person basically was not having AIDS basically, and they basically enjoyed basically the life. Basically. They basically told that basically we have enjoyed the life basically by giving him AIDS, by giving him AIDS. One person told that Sunil basically I am. Do you have the data basically when basically in 2001 basically the Bhuj basically Gujarat Saurashtra basically big earthquake basically came. Then one of the person how many people basically died, and few people basically are so lucky that basically they are not died basically, and they are telling that basically I am enjoying the life basically. So few child basically has not died basically, and they are telling that basically we are enjoying the life basically. We are enjoying the life. But few people has not died. Huh? Few child basically has not died in the Bhuj basically. So they are telling that we are enjoying the life. Just a minute. So one person basically asked the question. For this is one topic, huh, basically that is Bhuj earthquake, and one child basically not died, and he is telling that basically I am enjoying the life. So that is one topic, and that topic basically is going to connect this. How basically that is. So he basically told that basically we are basically going to give him AIDS. So they basically literally given why? Because rules उनके बाप का है ना basically. Schedule caste basically groups. Nobody is asking for. No, nobody basically is going to ask them basically. So they basically literally given them AIDS, and that also Baba Sahib Ambedkar basically is given. He basically has got the sponsorship of Sayaji Rao Gaikwad basically. So who is going to ask him basically, and who is going to ask his people basically? So he basically given that basically boy AIDS. Then basically they thought little bit basically. That is the schedule caste group basically. They told that basically yeah, isko, he basically given him AIDS. But if we will, if possible basically, his next generation will create problem basically because if he's AIDS, then basically he can get the birth also. So they thought basically little bit future basically. Future plan basically they had done. The future plan basically do you know what was? The future plan was he's basically they basically done his Nasbandi also. And then they basically thought little bit more deeper basically. That he we will basically we have finished his next generation. So his next generation basically we have finished with the help of Baba Sahib Ambedkar rule power basically. And this is real story of the one of the Bangalore city basically. If you want to do the inquiry, you can do it basically. Then basically they basically stopped his income also. Do you know why basically? Through murder case, through cyber crime, through taking the help of Facebook, taking the help of LinkedIn, taking the help of Google. They basically filed a crime case basically. Sorry, crime case nahi, cyber crime basically. That he has done some cyber crime. He basically was searching some invalid content basically, which is not actually valid. So murder case plus the cyber group basically. So new basically technique came into picture basically. Assume today world is going to end. So this is going to calculate today. Assume today world basically is going to end basically. So what are the things basically which is going to calculate basically? So that is second number topic basically. Now third number topic is this. That is that person basically got, he converted into case also basically. Now basically he is not having the income. Why? Because HR group basically will not give the income only basically. Why? Because he has done murder. He basically is a cyber crime. He's a basically caddy of cyber group basically. And in this basically, cricket group also basically jumped into it because cricket group basically everybody knows basically what which kind of people basically they are. But few people basically are doing job with them basically. Few people basically are riding auto also basically, and they basically sends to particular person to, for example, I am going for one interview basically. So they basically tell that basically भाई आपको आना है ऑटो में. So they basically literally gives auto rickshaw also, and then basically that person basically, for example, I am basically want to go to interview basically. So I picked up an auto, but actually real basically he was one cricketer basically. So few people told that basically cricketer की ऐसी condition. And then they told that basically हम तो भाई we are doing no job basically of BCCI group basically. We are doing job of BCCI group basically. We are doing job of BCCI group basically. So this is also one of the topic basically. Now basically thing is, now basically that person basically got punishment basically. His income stopped basically. So this everything basically, that group basically who has done the marriage basically, they were watching everything basically. Why? Because in future basically if that person basically will track that basically he got AIDS, he was Nasbandi was done by schedule caste group, and in future basically he can do some damage also to entire schedule caste. So they were tracking basically what that person is doing, what he's doing in laptop, what basically is doing in paintbrush, what he's doing in internet. So they started tracking basically. Sometimes basically, if one person basically is doing the meeting basically, at that same time basically he installs something basically in laptop basically. And he say that basically, I'm tracking basically. I'm tracking his laptop basically. And I'm doing the jasusi basically of laptop basically. Just a minute. In this basically, few software company people also basically supports this group basically. Because they know that basically rules is very dangerous basically. So they basically supports, and they also tell that basically we are also enjoying. So again back to that Bhuj earthquake. Few child basically got miracle basically, miracle saving basically, and they basically as known as a miracle child basically. And they are telling that basically I am enjoying the life basically. I am basically enjoying the life. So here one of the person told that the people basically who don't die in natural disaster, up to what level basically they reach the stuff basically. That is one thing basically. Now basically again back to that person basically. Then basically they thought that basically, yeah, basically we have done everything basically. Now basically, how basically we can finish him basically. So they told, they basically were having some contact with visa department basically. They basically issued labor visa basically because they have banned everything basically. So he's not going to get the, as if that person basically was software professional basically. So that person basically is not going to get the valid visa. Why? Because he has banned basically. He's basically done the murder, and basically he has done lots of cyber crime. I don't know what crime basically he basically has done. Why? Because police are also basically supporting. Why? In that basically police department were also basically involved basically. So now basically that person basically went in Dubai basically, and in Dubai basically he was killed basically. He was shocked basically. Yeah, basically I killed basically in Dubai basically because his death basically was planned by schedule caste group basically. But this is entire schedule caste are basically one that basically need to check him basically because few schedule caste group basically are doing up to this level plan basically. They are using the power of Ambedkar and Sayajirao Gaikwad basically and telling that basically we are enjoying. Now basically they killed that person basically in Dubai. And they told that basically we are enjoying the life basically by killing that person basically. And they are telling that basically, see basically we have killed our enemy. Assume today world will end basically. And this whole condition will match. Then basically what are the things basically going to happen basically. Just taking as an example, basically really basically world is not going to end. But assume that basically, then also basically assume that basically world will end today just after 1 or 2 seconds basically. So anything is going to affect basically due to that all condition basically, and due to entire schedule caste group basically, and due to Ambedkar and due to Sayajira Gaikwad. Because in the Sayajira Gaikwad also basically came into picture. So one person told that small thing basically can finish the entire kingdom also. And here basically the entire Sayajirao kingdom came into trouble basically. Why basically? They have used this power basically, Ambedkar power. And this is real story, yeah, basically. This is real story. Just a minute. So one person told me, yeah, up to what level basically things are basically happening. Now again back to Bhuj basically. Where basically the earthquake has happened. So that person basically was miraculously saved basically. So in future basically, assume that basically today world is going to end basically. So that person basically was died basically. Sorry, was supposed to die. That child basically was supposed to die. He basically not died, and he basically working in one of the software company and telling that basically I am enjoying the life basically. And today basically world will end. So anything is going to affect basically because this type of metrics basically are very dangerous basically. Positive wise and negative wise both basically. Positive wise and negative wise basically. In this basically the chief minister group also basically comes into the picture. Why? Because this everything is connected to that group only basically. Assume that basically Gujarat chief minister basically. He is telling that basically think positive basically. So that positivity basically assume that basically today world will end. So that positivity basically will save the world basically. That positive energy basically is going to save the world or basically world will end only basically today after 2 seconds basically. So one person told that energy basically are very dangerous. That child basically was supposed to die in Bhuj basically. He not died basically due to some powerful energy basically. Somebody saved him basically, and then basically he joined one of the software company. He basically done study of software, and he basically become software professional. And he's telling that basically I am enjoying the life. I am enjoying the life. So one person told that this kind of energy also, like this basically in this world, how many types of energies exist here basically? Because on last day of world basically, these all are going to calculate basically. That's why basically. Negative energy, positive energy, everything is divided into this positive, these two energy basically. One is negative energy, one is positive energy. एक पॉजिटिव है और एक नेगेटिव है. That child basically was saved, and he basically not died in Bhuj earthquake, and now basically he's telling that basically I am enjoying, and he's basically telling everybody to that enjoy basically enjoy. So one person told that this energy, then basically the person basically who got he basically killed in Dubai basically by the schedule caste group. This energy. So this like this basically assume that basically there are 1 lakh energy basically, and today world will end basically after 2 seconds basically. So anything basically miracle basically can happen basically. That universe group basically want to finish the world. They basically finished the energy. They basically sent the finishing energy basically, and Earth planet basically positive and negative energy basically can save this world basically. That is the energy which has came from universe basically. So can that enjoy person basically energy can save the Earth planet, or basically this negative energy which was generated that can save the world basically, because that person basically died in Dubai basically. So this was negative energy, and in Bhuj basically that child basically was not died, and he basically becomes software professional, and he's telling that basically I am enjoying the life. So this is positive. But here basically the thing is sometime basically this positive energy basically also converts to negative energy also, because it remembers that Bhuj earthquake, and Bhuj earthquakes are connected with some groups, or basically some person basically died that time basically, and after just basically he died basically his status basically converted into death. After that death basically after few millisecond basically his human souls basically connected to Bhuj basically, and the earthquake basically came. And one person basically told this also, that each and every big personality basically when they basically dies na, the satellite group basically captures the human souls, and they basically keeps at particular location basically. Assume that basically one person basically died in 1990s or 91, 92, 93, or basically in 2000. His energy basically, that is the human souls, was captured by satellite group, and it has kept to Bhuj basically. And in Bhuj basically that energy basically converted into earthquake. And in that basically one child basically got saved basically, and that child basically become software professional basically, and he is telling that basically enjoy the life. So anything is going to affect basically, because everything is going to connect basically one day on last day of world basically. So one person told that yeah, basically we are not able to understand basically what you want to say basically. So just a minute. So one person told that yeah, basically, and here basically we will connect one more story basically. One child, one person basically, he was his friend basically was he was basically having one childhood friend basically, and when basically he was child and basically that time basically he was not rich basically. Slowly basically he converted to rich person basically, and then basically that child basically as if that basically that child was me basically, who was basically not so rich basically, and he basically done the inquiry when basically he connected to that particular rich person basically. He was his childhood friend basically, and he basically told that basically I don't know you basically. First he told that basically I know you, and then basically he told I don't know you. So this basically converted to what basically? Negative energy. This connected to negative energy basically. What is that? I don't know basically you. But in real basically he was knowing, and he was telling that basically अरे यार इसका financial condition तो देख, see his financial condition basically. How basically can I tell him basically I know this person basically, because that is going to affect my financial data also basically. So this one negative energy, like this basically in this world, assume that basically there are more than 1 crore energy, 1 crore negative energy, 1 crore positive energy. And on last day of world, universe group basically sent some energy from universe to planet. So they have sent the data, but they know that basically in Earth planet basically they have created lots of energy basically. So they told that basically if Earth planet basically want to save basically, and Earth planet basically, if Earth planet is telling that basically we can save ourselves, so that creation basically, that is the negative energy, that is 1 crore, and positive energy, that is 1 crore. That energy can save the world basically. This is very dangerous topic basically. Because on last day of world, these all energies are going to take the decision that world will exist or world will not. Just a minute. So one person told that assume that today world will end. Assume that today world is going to end. And here basically we connected to one more story. Assume that basically Sunil R. Nair basically was having one thali basically, and somebody basically from that thali basically, one rich person basically tracked that basically this person basically is eating this thali. He basically damaged his eye basically. This eye basically. They basically told that basically we will damage his eye basically because he has we have basically pura old basically enemy with that particular person. So they basically damaged his eye basically. By one thali basically, that rich person basically damaged his eye. So you can just understand here basically up to what level the world has reached. One person basically can't eat one thali also. And this is a real story basically. I am telling you. So this energy connected. So anything is going to affect basically. Assume today world basically is going to end. Assume that basically today world is going to end. So the group who basically told that basically अरे भाई हमने तो इसका आँख फोड़ दिया. That group basically a rich group. So their group basically will start creating problem to that particular person basically. That is basically me assume that basically that is my perception. I am taking just as an example basically. So up to what level basically they are going to harass basically, because they have power of Ambedkar, they have power of police, they basically have power of Sayajira Gaikwad. So up to what level basically they are going to create problem to Sunilar Nair. That is myself basically. In really basically it's not like that. Here basically we are just taking as a user story. Basically. So this is one story basically connected. Now again back to that Bhuj basically. Bhuj, that child basically was not died. Assume that basically when earthquake basically has happened, that time basically uh, one door basically saved that person basically. Door basically, which is created by tree basically, which was created by one of the tree basically. When the earthquake basically happened, that time basically he was under the in his top. That child basically was down, and in his top basically it was one door basically, which saved that child life. So that was tree basically. Assume that basically that tree was sark tree basically. Sark tree basically everything is known. Sark lakda basically, sark lakda. Or basically assume that basically it was banyan tree basically. Because banyan tree and sark tree basically are relative basically. Both are basically relative basically. So one person told that, yeah, matlab, what is this here? Relative tree also basically have relative. Then one person told that the tree seed basically you get na basically. That gets from one of the human body basically. And his relative basically was sark tree basically. The person who is giving the energy of shark tree basically, he was relative basically. So like this it connected to energy basically of the relative basically. So that shark tree basically, that is the banyan tree basically, from the door basically, the door was created from that banyan tree basically, that saved that basically child. And assume that basically that child basically came to Vadodara city, miracle basically, miracle. And he basically connected himself to software professional basically, and he's telling that basically enjoy the life. This is real story, huh, basically. This has basically happened basically. So this kind of energy basically are in environment basically. So this is positive energy or negative energy. And he basically done some bad activity also basically. Bad activity means he basically told that basically fire him, he's basically not proper. He basically give him termination letter. He was giving salary late. Of for example, from his bank account, basically one salary was getting credited, so he was giving salary late. He was giving problem to that particular person. This, that, each and everything basically he was doing, and he was basically partner of one of the software company. So that bad energy, good energy was he was getting salary, but bad energy was he was getting salary late. So that energy basically, that person basically who given him the partnership, he basically know that person basically was saved in the Bhuj basically. So he specially basically picked that child basically. Specially he picked basically. Specially he picked basically that child basically. And he told that basically he becomes software professional basically. And he basically become his partner basically. And this is real story basically. You will not able to believe it basically. So one person told that this is actually remembering always Bhuj earthquake. Basically. So in future basically assume that basically big earthquake is going to happen in India. So is there basically any connection here basically? Just taking as an example, huh, basically, because energy basically can do any type of damage basically. Because this Bhuj earthquake basically was connected to some person basically died, and satellite group basically captured the head person's human souls and dumped into Bhuj, and after certain days basically or after certain month, the big earthquake basically connected, and more than 1 lakh people basically died. In that basically lots of child basically was there, and in that child basically one child got saved with that banyan tree. Banyan tree means banyan tree basically not saved. The door basically was in top of his body basically, and that door basically was created from banyan tree basically. So that banyan tree saved him. So that energy, And here the miracle thing basically was that child came to Vadodara city basically. Yeah. That was the miracle basically. That was the miracle basically. We will not able to believe it basically. One of the person told that really it is miracle basically. So this is one story of miracle. Another negative story was what? That person basically who got the marriage, he basically died in Dubai with the help of scheduled caste group basically. This is also real story. So just a minute. So one person told that here basically who actually watched that child here basically. He basically got saved by that door basically. So one person told that one is satellite group is there basically. They have recorded each and every video of the earthquake of Bhuj basically. And they basically passed this video to Bollywood industry and few documentary group basically. And they watched that child and they basically tracked that basically. This child basically was saved here basically. Do you know basically this child? Yes, he is basically. So they basically told that basically tell him basically to do some computer course basically. And he basically done some computer course and then basically he becomes software professional and then basically he converted into partnership also. This is the real story. Yeah, वन परसेंट टूल क्या है बेसिकली मतलब भूत मतलब अर्थक्वेक अभी तुरंत ही आ जाएगा क्या तुरंत आएगा क्या अर्थक्वेक so 1% told them earthquake will come just now basically and all will basically ran outside basically this is going to happen basically just now that is not going to happen basically. Why because by talking basically earthquake basically doesn't happen 1% told that in universe basically this way only basically happens this way only basically they creates the planets but they are basically universe power basically we are in earth planet basically we don't have that much power basically. Earthquake come. So earthquake is not going to come like this basically. Earthquake come in India basically. So like that basically in India basically big earthquake is not going to come. Basically. That is the point basically. So 1% told that big personality basically died due to that basically huge earthquake basically connected. So 1% told that who know the exact reason basically that in Bhuj basically earthquake basically happened due to this personality basically died. This big personality basically died. It was big personality only. Why? Because more than 1 lakh people basically died in Bhuj, and most of us child basically, and few child basically saved also by miracle basically. So this all energy connected. That Dubai basically that person basically died. That energy connected. So like this basically, negative energies and positive energy basically are connected in this world. In this world. So one person told that the Bhuj earthquake basically, which happened basically, that videos are basically with satellite group, and they have basically passed this to Earth planet, and like that basically they tracked that that child basically was not died, and that was miracle. That was miracle. But in that basically he done lots of bad activity. One of the activity was he was getting the salary. For example, one person. For example, I said that basically that is my myself. Basically. This is not real service. I was basically getting salary from that child basically who actually died. He basically saved in Bhuj. He was giving basically salary, but every time basically he was salary giving salary basically late. He was giving salary late. Why? That basically we do. So assume that basically that child was me. So this energy also basically connected to environment. So assume that basically today world will end. And in this basically the person basically who actually died in Dubai, and then basically Sunil R. Nair basically got late salary every time. That energy, negative energy, like this each and every energy basically connected. Positive energy, he was getting salary. Negative energy, he was getting salary late. In really, basically, I am not working. Assume that basically, in this situation, basically, something basically happened in our planet. So, what are the things basically going to happen? Because these all are basically going to capture something big effect. That's why big effect basically is going to happen of these all energies. So, just a minute. Do you know how that basically person basically died? His laptop basically was done in the Jasus mode basically. Done in Jasus mode means some few people basically was capturing his laptop basically what he is doing, which kind of video basically is watching, what he is watching in video, what basically is recording, what he is typing in Word, what he is typing in Excel. This all basically they were tracking basically. Why? Because they basically thought that basically if basically in future basically he will know that basically he was married with one HIV AIDS girl, and in that basically he has done Nasbandi also. That girl group basically done Nasbandi of that particular person also. Here basically he can react also. So they were capturing his each and every videos. What he is doing, what he is not doing. In that basically one more basically group came into the picture. Do you know which group basically? Do you know which group basically were capturing him? In this basically assume that basically uh, one person basically who was basically first rank in one school basically, that assume that basically that is myself, and he basically converted into fail basically. Fail means the teacher told that basically you are failed, you are basically failed. But in real basically that child basically was having first rank holder. Just a minute. Just a minute. So one person told that that child basically was having first rank, and he basically suddenly was failed basically. So the people basically who was knowing him basically, they were shocked here basically how that happened basically. How that miracle, this was miracle basically. This was miracle basically. How this miracle basically happened. Just a minute. Then basically he converted to failed degree, and he basically got LC basically from school, and basically principal told that basically get out from school. He told that get out from school basically. Then basically got out basically from that school and joined from one other another school basically. In this basically the child basically who died basically in Dubai basically, that child was this child only basically. So here the main thing was that scheduled caste group, and one more team basically was there, that was that school group basically, who are basically also tracking that particular person basically, and that was tracking done by that principal group basically and that teacher group basically, who were actually tracking because they have done the fail na basically, they have done that child basically given the failed degree basically, in really basically he was first rank holder. So that teacher group also basically was tracking him basically. Teacher group also basically was tracking that particular person basically. That child basically that because currently he is his child basically. When basically story is ongoing. Then basically that child basically died in Dubai basically. How? That marriage was happened basically. And that girl basically was having AIDS basically. So like this basically entire one group basically assume that basically that count is around 1 crore people basically, and that 1 crore people basically energy connected into the environment. In this assume that basically that child basically was having the failed degree na, in that basically they were having few girls friend also basically, he was having some girl as a friend also basically. And that girl basically was rich girl basically, she basically was, she was a partner of that particular software company basically, where that basically Bhuj person also basically, that Bhuj basically that child basically who was saved basically from that banyan tree basically, that person basically was also partner of that girl basically. So here basically there were three partner, that school basically girl, and her husband basically he was also partner, and that Bhuj group also basically, that was child basically. So this also story connected. So assume that basically these all are real story. Just taking as an example, really basically it's not real story. We just made up. Like this basically they killed that person in Dubai basically. And that girl basically already died. Why? Because she was having AIDS disease basically. And that family basically told that basically before marriage, without marriage basically if girl will die na basically, then it will create problem to entire family basically. So on the name of that basically one child basically was given Kurbani basically. That was, he was not having the AIDS, basically. That poor, he was basically just poor basically. So how the rich people basically use poor people basically. So that poor child basically got AIDS and he basically died in Dubai. That is not my story, because I am still exist basically. I'm just taking as an example of that that child was me basically. In reality, it is not me basically. I basically still exist. See, basically, I am here basically. See, basically, see, just a minute. Basically. So, like this, basically, positive energy, negative energy, everything basically got connected. In this, basically, assume that basically the group who basically fired that child basically in one school basically, his family basically history was something bad basically. And on the base of that history, basically, the entire school basically fired that child. That time, basically. So, like this, basically, assume that basically 1 crore groups, that is the population of 1 crore, they basically connected to myself, basically. Assume basically that is connected to me, basically. So, here, basically, on last day of world, assume that basically today world is going to end. So, anything is going to happen in universe. Sorry, not universe, basically. Because universe group basically are password protected, basically. So, they basically are not going to get any of the effect, basically. So they told that basically anything is basically going to happen in the Earth planet. So Earth planet also basically told that basically we have also done password protected thing. So if any energy is going to connect to us, basically we are going to get the notification that this energy has connected to us. So see the plan basically. You see the plan basically. This everything is done basically. Yeah, basically this everything is done. So one person told that yeah, क्या plan है यार basically. What a plan basically. So like this also one of the energy got connected. Like this basically, I assume that basically in environment basically more than 1 crore energies are ongoing. And assume basically that today world will end. Today world will end. Assume just taking as an example, huh, really basically world is not going to. Otherwise basically you will say here basically Sunil told that basically world will end. Really world ended. Really world ended. But really basically world has not ended. So here basically one of the person told that this all energy also connected to the environment. And to remember everything basically, this type of story basically has connected. That city only basically created some recipe basically. Say usal, vada pav, this pav, then bhakri. So that basically this can be remembered basically. That this type of incidents basically has happened basically. So see the recipe also of the restaurants basically, which they are preparing and they have prepared basically, and they are basically adding each and every energies into that. That this type of incidents basically has happened in city basically. So this is one energy basically that is of food energy. Then one person told that that person basically died in Dubai basically. Then he told that yes, here basically that person basically poor person basically died. Unnecessary basically he died. Why? Because he was poor basically. So rich people basically one of the person told that rich people basically uses this type of they basically use in this way basically to the poor people basically. In this government also basically supports that rich people. Why? Because government are getting money basically on the base of money basically they have created entire Hindustan. So that entire Hindustan which is created, that is also one energy basically. That is also one energy which has created by that rich group basically who actually killed that person in Dubai basically. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this most dangerous